What's up, guys? This is Optic Rambo coming to you today with Black Ops 2 Intel. This is my first video of details and all that stuff about. Today we're going to be talking about game types and maps. So mainly there's new game types. I'm going to start with that, and then we're going to go along to maps, and I'll let you know which maps play better on which game type, and the ones I feel that are going to be really competitive when Black Ops 2 pops out for us. So mainly let's start with Hardpoint. Hardpoint is the newest, most competitive game type that I've seen in a long time. It's very refreshing to see. So it's pretty much like King of the Hill. Mainly for those who are new to competitive or new to gaming in general, it's pretty much you have one hill on the map, and it moves every minute to. Well, the way we had it set up was the hill moved every minute to 4 or 3 locations on the map, depending on the map. Some of the maps had 3 locations and some had 4. But mainly every minute it's going to move, and you have to have at least one player in the hill for time to count. If you had a player join the hill while you were on it, then it cancels, and then the time only starts counting down as soon as someone dies or there's only one team in the hill. So pretty much if there's at any time 2 players on the hill, then the time does not count. So this can make for really interesting end games where, let's say, a team is up by 2 or 3 seconds and they're catching up, then one player can just hop on the zone and kind of like hold it and make a gunfight or 2 and get 2 clutch kills, and that can end the game and win it for them because he's going to cancel the time that they're getting. So it was really fun to play and watch as well. I think it's going to be really interesting in game mode for competitive play. A few of the spawns were kind of here and there, but then again we're playing 6-on-6, so they might play better for 4-on-4. But then again, the game type was awesome. I really felt like it's definitely going to be a game type. I think that's going to be the 3rd game type for competitive play next year for Black Ops 2. I don't see how it could not be entered. It's really interesting to play and watch. Like I said, it makes really interesting end games and middle games as well, because it requires, first of all, it requires control which setups, which is pretty much what every team likes doing. Mainly when you have control, you feel more safe and you're more in control of what's going on in the game when you have map control. So it's really, map control is completely required in this game type. The second things that makes this game type really interesting is you have to move a lot. You can't just sit there, and you have to adjust to every spawn and position that you're going to have to get, because you never know how a team's going to play it. Mainly, let's say I'm playing a team that's really confident about their setup, and we get the first hill. So let's say we'll hop on the first hill. Maybe the other team's going to feel really confident about their holding abilities. So they'll try and break it maybe once or twice, but let's say there's 30 seconds left to the hill, and you got the first 30 seconds. Maybe they'll just go to the next hill and be like, okay, well, we feel really confident about holding this hill, so they'll just give up the hill time and control the next one, and then make you break into that one. So it's going to be really interesting to see how it plays, in my opinion. I feel there's going to be a lot of different strategies and mindsets from teams about this game type. The other new game type that we had was multi-team. Multi-team isn't going to really be played competitively unless there's like a multi-team tournament. You never know, maybe like on the side for the fun of it. Instead of playing like FFA or something like that, you play with 2 of your other teammates and play like a multi-team tournament where the first 2 teams advance or something like that. I'm sure they could do something fun with that game type, but in general, we only played TDM on it. I'm not sure if there's any objective game modes. It would be a lot of fun. Something like, let's say, multi-team Hardpoint, for example. That'd be a lot of fun. These crazy King of the Hill or whatever. It would make like really interesting games and a lot of fun to like just move around and shoot a lot of people. And obviously, my favorite part about the game type is you actually had like 900 people to shoot instead of 6. Let's say I was playing a pub. So it creates a lot of actions. It's really fun for those public players who like getting kill streaks and such, because you're able to rack up a lot of kills. Depending on the size of the map, some of the spawns were pretty, like, you pretty much spawn in the same area all the time. There's like 4 or 5 different areas, I mean, but like, for example, let's say you spawn down low and bottom middle on some map, then if, let's say, you die right away, you'll most likely spawn in the same area. So it's a game type where you can rack up a lot of kills. So, and obviously what we played was CTF, S&D. I'm not entirely in TDM, obviously, but I'm not entirely sure if there's any other game types in this game yet. I feel like there's gonna be more. I'm really not sure, but the way it seemed, it really felt like there was more to it. Like Vaughn tweeted after the event saying, someone tweeted at him saying, "Did you guys? I'm sure you guys didn't release all the information. When can we expect more?" And he replied with a winky face. So just saying that already, there's a lot more to Black Ops 2 that we do not know yet. And obviously, as soon as they come out with intel, I'll bring it to you guys and directly with my insight and anything as fast as possible. So you guys can be the first to get a look at it, and inside, it's obviously, in my opinion, as general as well. So let's move along to the maps. The first map we're going to be talking about, obviously before I start talking about all the maps, we have 4 maps. We played 4 maps in the beta. I guess you can call it beta. We had Yemen, Cargo, Turbine, and Aftermath. Let's start with my favorite map. We'll start with Cargo. Cargo was definitely the most competitive map out of all the four. It played awesome on Hardpoint. It played really good on CTF. Domination, not so much in my opinion, because B was really open and easy to nade. But then again, some people like watching that, so it required a lot of control. But it was really a fight for who got the hill first, who got B first. After someone got B, it was really hard to take over after that. But in general, that map, for those who didn't really get to watch it that much, I strongly suggest you watch YouTube videos on it. Let's say gameplay videos. I'm saying. But it was pretty much like a cargo bay with a lot of pretty much three main power points. There was both sides of the cargo middle, and then there was that side building. We called it a window building. You guys, obviously, we don't really went for callouts yet. We were just trying to find whatever was easiest to recognize as for callouts since we just started playing the game. But like I said, Cargo played really well competitively, mostly because a lot of the fight happened in the middle, and the outskirts of the map weren't that big. I think that's what really made that map interesting, was the fact that you could get back to a certain area where you could fight people from really fast when you spawn. So Hardpoint, you had to control middle. Like as much as you wanted to go around the side and such, if you controlled bottom middle, you were controlling the map on any hardpoint. So that made it really good for like slayers who are really strong with assault rifles to get in a power position in the middle and just keep an eye on it and get a lot of kills and rack up a lot of points for their team. And then the objective players are kind of like roaming around trying to get to hill as fast as they could. And it really made a lot of diversity in the game type. And I really feel like that's going to be one of the game types whenever the pops comes out. Hardpoint on Cargo, I feel like, was definitely one of the most competitive game types we played last weekend. As for CTF, it played really well. The flags were on one extremity to the other, so the only difference in that map that I felt could have been a bit better are the spawn points for CTF. They felt kind of one-sided, where one team would spawn really near their flag on one side, and there was a lot of buildings and stuff you could defend your flag from on one side. And then on the other side, you didn't really have much. You had a little hallway on top of a cargo to watch your flag, but apart from that, it was really open, and it seemed a lot easier to get a flag out on that side since you could get it to the side building right away. So that's one of the things that I felt. Obviously, we didn't get to play that much, so you can't really like bash on it right away since obviously we played 6v6 as well. So, but just an insight on that real fast. That's the way I felt about it. Let's move on to the next map. Let's go to Yemen. Yemen was probably tied for second on my most competitive maps to play with Aftermath, which I'm going to talk about next. But Yemen was kind of like a favela-like city map where there was mainly a lot of shanties and buildings in the middle. You had a street to go down to, and the objectives were kind of roaming. Like for Domination, we played Domination on it, and S&D. We didn't get to play Hardpoint on it, sadly. But for Domination, you had one right in the smack middle of the street, and the other two were on the end of that street, and one was up the stairs. It was pretty much like in a straight line across the map. It played pretty well in Dom, actually. It was actually really hard to get B though, because you could pretty much it was open street and it was in the smack middle. You didn't have much cover to get the flag from, so that might be a problem to a certain extent. But we've had maps like that before, like example like Firing Range. Summit wasn't really that open, but Firing Range, for example, was a map where B was really open. So you never know. I'm not saying it's not going to happen. I would really like seeing 3 or 4 game types for competitive play next year to add some diversity to what we're playing. And especially with the new pick 10 system, which I'm going to talk in one of my later videos, is going to add so much to the game. And you'll never be seeing the same stuff over and over again, in my opinion, especially if we have different game types. Obviously, for the game type itself, it might get a bit similar all the time. But, for example, we'll have a lot of different stuff to show, and it'll be a lot more interesting to spectators since there'll be a lot of different things in the game, I feel, that will be interesting to spectators. But diversity in game types and what people are using is definitely one of the things that I feel makes Call of Duty one of the games that is interesting to watch, and we haven't really had lately with Modern Warfare 3 and Black Ops 1 since the FAMAS was really strong in Black Ops 1. Everyone used the same thing. And in Modern Warfare 3, we kind of have a bit of diversity, but then again, we're playing CTF and S&D all the time. So to come back on Yemen, we played S&D as well on it. S&D was a pretty good map on it. You had a lot of different options. You had a lot of viable options on offense as to where you wanted to push. You kind of had like four chokes you could go through. You had 2 on each side really far out, and you had the mid street and the middle left side street. And all the window buildings merely made it like it's really felt like it was going to be like a map where you had to get a pick before you push, because those assault rifles had really good eyes on those linear pushes. But then again, you had a lot of windows and areas you can get kills from to start yourself off on offense. So I feel like Yemen's going to be definitely a good map for S&D. And for domination, we'll have to see how it plays on 4v4. But I feel like it's definitely possible to play it. So moving on to my second tied for favorite map. It was Aftermath. Aftermath was the big LA broken down city where the middle was pretty much a bunch of poles broken down. You had the one building on the sides, and you had a little underground tunnel on the left side. And you had both sides had one side had a parking lot, and the other side had kind of like a restaurant area with a big fountain. So we played that map. We played a lot of Hardpoint on that map. That was the map that we played the most Hardpoint on, and we didn't get to play CTF. I don't really. CTF would have been interesting, but it's really like, I guess if you want to compare it to a map, let's compare it to Launch. It's kind of like where it's a long map, and there's like three main choke points to go through. And then you have this middle area where it's pretty much like a line across. Obviously, it looks different, and there's a bit of additions to the stuff in the middle. I'm not saying it's exactly like Launch, but it looks a lot like Launch if I had to compare it to any maps. But Hardpoint was really good on it. I feel like that's going to be one of the maps that might be played competitively for Hardpoint, especially for S&D. That was by far my favorite S&D map of the 2 or 3 maps that we played S&D on. It was really awesome because the 4 chokes and both teams spawned pretty much at the same distance from the objective. So defense had like just this much more time to get to the objective points than the offensive team. So I really felt like the timings were right for Search, and there's a lot of different stuff you can do in the middle of the map. So if the offensive team gets control of that, then there's going to be a lot of diversity and pushes you're going to be seeing because you pretty much have a viable option to be NA from the middle. So I really feel like that's going to be a really good S&D map and going to create a lot of different strategies for teams to play on. Obviously, my favorite strategies are the ones on the go where you'll react to whatever you're seeing. So I feel like that map's going to be perfect for that. As far as other game types, we played Domination on it. I felt like that was probably my least favorite Domination map, only because B was incredibly hard to get. Not only because of the nade possibilities, but because you spawned so far away from the point. It really felt like you had to walk so far away from your spawn point to get to the B objective. And we were playing like 6-on-6, so pretty much whoever got B first there was no way to take it over again unless like one team completely disregarded the B point. So that's one map that we'll have to see how it plays 4v4, but I don't really feel like we'll be seeing that competitively. And the last map out of the 4 was Turbine. Turbine was, if I had to compare it to any maps like I have with the other maps, I have to compare it to Turbine, not Turbine, Afghan on Modern Warfare 2, where you had the big plane in the middle, and it's kind of like a desert-like area where you have all these side things, and then you have I would compare the buildings to that little underground section. So it played a lot like Afghan, where a lot of the fights happened kind of like in the middle plane and those side areas that it kind of like diverse the fights it spreads it out too much in my opinion. It really makes it a bit random on the positions that you're going to spawn in. It really matters, especially in like objective game types. Like the one we played once or twice on that was, we mostly played TDM on it, but the one we played was Hardpoint. And Hardpoint was actually really interesting to play on it, but the fact that you really spawn in like random areas, and like it's, even if you knew the spawns, you still have all these many options to use the map where not really people will go to it. Like there's two extremities to the map, that one of the far points that has a lot of random stuff in there that nobody really went to. That's just a place where you spawn here and there, and you never really want to find yourself there. A lot of the fights happen on that bridge that crossed from the turret building to that high point building. So that was really the main point of the map. And on Hardpoint, one of the points was on there, so it made it really interesting. But apart from that point, like the fight was really diverse, and there's not much going on. As far as like if I was a spectator, I would be really watching someone run around for a long time and most likely run into a guy and get shot. So I don't really feel like that's a map that's going to be seen in competitive play that much. But then again, you never know. So this was my experience from all these maps and game types. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'm going to be doing a lot more. My next video, hopefully I can talk about Pick 10. I'm trying to get a little bit of video. I actually took a video. It's a bit shaky though with my phone, but hopefully you guys can enjoy that as well. This was Rambo with some Black Ops 2 intel on the game modes and maps. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Have a good day.